And we are live. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another stream here on Kitchen Meta. Um, Before I get into the decks of today, I wanted just to say, if you're new, that we're playing Harry Potter TCG, the classical format with some of my own house rule modifications. If you don't know how to play, you can learn how to play from a video that you can find in the description. And if you want to know about the format that we're playing today, there's also a video in the description for that. You can also find previous streams and decks that have been posted on the channel there. Today we're going to look at two new decks that haven't been presented on the channel before. And the special thing about these is that they are both character decks and they are both prison decks. And so far we have only seen one character deck on the channel and only one prison deck as well. Now we will see those two things combined into two different decks and learn more about the dreaded prison archetype, which is actually very powerful in the Harry Potter TCG. If you don't know, you didn't watch last stream, prison decks are decks that completely or heavily restrict your opponent from doing things, and once you reach that state of your opponent being unable to do anything, you finish them off in some way. Some people may think that these are not fun because you reach a state of the game where one player cannot do anything, but I would say that that's partially true, but there is a struggle, of course, before you reach that point, and I think that's important to acknowledge. Anyway, let's jump into the first deck of today. And also, I'm going to say that today I'm using the plugin for untap.in, and hopefully that means that there's going to be a little bit less lag when playing. So we'll see. I hope it's going to be better. And also, if you have questions or suggestions, just leave them in the chat, or if you're watching the video, in the comments, and I will answer as best I can. And also, if you have suggestions for matchups that you want to see today, then you can also leave those in the comments, and if we have time, we will fit them in. All right, so the first deck of today is one I call Letters from Prison. And as stated, it's a prison deck. So the first thing you got to ask yourself when you have a prison deck is, what is the lock state? What is the state we're trying to reach where our opponent cannot do anything? And in this case, we are using an adventure card called Letters from No One that has been shown in the Endless Adventures video on the channel. The effect of this adventure is that your opponents may use actions only to draw cards. So this is an effect that, of course, heavily restricts your opponent, but they can solve this adventure by discarding 5 cards. So as long as they have 5 cards, they can get rid of this and do things, and their reward is that they get to draw 2 cards when they solve it. But what we're trying to do in this deck is reach a state where they can never solve this card because we keep discarding cards from their hand. And so they will never be able to play cards again. That's sort of the idea. So in order to achieve this, once we have this on the board and our opponent has less than 5 cards, we have a Garden Gnome that forces our opponent to discard a card at the end of their turn, every turn. So if we have 3 Garden Gnomes in play and Letters from No One, that means our opponent will never be able to solve them unless they have some extra effect that lets them draw cards, because they get 1 card at the start of the turn, and then with their 2 actions they can draw 2 more cards, and that's it. So if they are discarding 3 cards, then they cannot be gaining more cards than they had at the start of the turn, and thus they are completely locked. There are other things we can do in this deck as well that messes with our opponent's hands, and that is use Draco Malfoy, who has an ability that allows us to use an action to discard a card from our opponent's hand by discarding 1 from ours. So if we have even 1 Garden Gnome and Draco, we can discard 2 cards from them on each of our turns, and the Garden Gnome discards a third. And because we are a character deck, we can use Seamus Finnegan to get a third action that we can then use to in some way put pressure on them and finish them off. So really, all we need to establish a full lock is Draco Malfoy and one Garden Gnome. But there are several ways we can reach this state. And even if we don't have Draco Malfoy, they may be able to solve the Letters from No One, but we can always play another one after they solve it, and then they are stuck for another while. And during that time, we can basically close the lock so that they cannot get out of it. But in order to draw all the cards we need for this, of course, we're playing a character deck, so we play what I've called the engine in other videos. If you've seen the Ron's Help video, you've seen this. We're playing Ginny Weasley. That lets us draw cards based on how many characters we have, except for Ginny, at the start of each turn. And Seamus to get the extra actions that I mentioned. And the Fat Lady, who can use an action to search out a Gryffindor card from your deck. So that's an easy way to get Seamus and Ginny. And we're playing Ron Weasley as our starting character, which of course lets us play character cards for just one action instead of two, if you're unfamiliar with character decks. And the rest of the cards just is trying to help us get to this lock state. So we have, in order to get them to a low amount of cards, we're playing a card called Escaping the Dursleys that also was shown in the Fred and George Weasley deck on the channel. And this one says your opponent can't use actions to play any cards except lesson cards. So basically it lets them, well, not do much useful things. They cannot really threaten you in any way when this is in play. And in order to solve it, they have to discard their hand. And the reward is that they get to search their deck for any card and put it into their hand. But if they solve this, then that means their entire hand will be gone and they will just get one card back. So that's how we get them to a very low card amount if we need to, if they're not already low on cards for Letters from No One. And if they are trying to stop us from doing this by having Argus Filch on the board, who can use an action to discard an adventure, or maybe they have a Minerva McGonagall who can discard an adventure from play once per game, then we have these cards. Dobby's Disappearance, that can return our opponent's cards to their hand and we get an action. And we have Hover Charm that does the same, except we don't get an action back. But if we combine these with Escaping the Dursleys, we can return the cards that would stop us from would allow them to get rid of Escaping the Dursleys without solving it. And then when we play Escaping the Dursleys, they will have to discard their hand so that we can reach the lock state that we want. Another thing to note about Escaping the Dursleys is that after we play it, if they have to solve it, drawing with Ginny doesn't help for one turn, because if they draw with Ginny, they will have to discard the cards that they are drawing as well. Now these cards, Hover Charm and Dobby's Disappearance, can also stop them from drawing cards with Ginny for one turn, which is really nice. And once we've played the Escaping the Dursleys and they are at a low card amount, we can still use the Dobby's Disappearance and Hover Charm to get rid of Ginny so that they don't draw enough cards to solve the Letters from No One. So the rest of our deck is just a few different tools that help us for different things. For example, Quirinus Quirrell can return all creatures and items to their owner's hands. This just, before we play Escaping the Dursleys, it's a way to get rid of all their creatures. Then we're playing some characters that provide power, like Pomona Sprout. She gives our plants +2 health, but that doesn't really matter. We're just playing her because she's a character that provides power as well. Minerva McGonagall is the same, provides a power, but she also allows us to get rid of an adventure. And Phileas Flitwick also has a useful power, but also provides 1 power. We have Argus Filch in case they have some annoying adventures that we want to get rid of. Fred and George Weasley to lower the action cost of playing adventures, which of course, because we are playing adventures, is useful. Marcus Flint can once per turn discard 3 cards, force our opponent to discard 3 cards from their hand. So that's another way that we can delay our opponent once we have letters from no one. This basically sets them back 3 actions because they have to spend 3 actions to draw back up. Dean Thomas just to draw 3 cards once per game. Madame Pomfrey to heal ourselves. And also, of course, once they are locked, we need some way to finish the game off. In this deck, we are playing creatures to do that, which just, well, basically, if you can establish a board state where your opponent can't play any cards, then creatures deal sort of, well, not really, but you could say infinite damage. A Mandrake deals 3 damage a turn, so if you have 17 cards left in your deck, that means before you would draw your entire deck, the Mandrake would be able to deal damage 17 times. So 1 Mandrake can deal 51 damage as long as your opponent is in the prison state. So creatures are a really useful way to close the game out for prison decks. Sorry, I had a thought about the other deck, but let's leave that for now. We are playing 1 copy of End of Year Feast that can get our adventures back into our hands. So this is just another way to solidify our lock with letters from no one. We have Halloween Feast in case this one allows us to take up to 4 creature cards from our discard pile into our hand. I guess if it's hard to read, the End of Year Feast does the same, but for adventure cards. So Halloween Feast is just in case our important creatures have been discarded somehow, we can get back Garden Gnome and Mandrake. And the rest of the cards are just lessons to allow us to play our cards. And that's we're also playing, of course, Hannah Abbott, which allows us to get cards from our discard pile back. We can trade 2 cards in our hand for 2 in our discard pile. So just another way to solidify a lock by recycling letters from no one, for example, or maybe you need many copies of David's Disappearance to get rid of more cards your opponent has in play. Then this is a really great card. So yeah, that's basically the deck. You're just trying to reach this lock state, and once you do, you get a Mandrake into play, and the game will be over. So let's get to the next prison deck. Let me just check if there were any comments. No? Okay. Then the other deck for today, called the Snuffles, is, as mentioned, this is also a character deck. So in the same vein, we are drawing a lot of cards with Ginny and Seamus, and we're using the Fat Lady to get them out. And what we're trying to do with this deck is play a card called Snuffling Potion. So this is a spell. Just a sec. This is a spell that says that next turn when our opponent draws a card, they discard the card instead of putting it into their hand. So if we play this card, our opponent can't really gain new cards except by maybe using an effect like Fat Lady that searches cards from their deck. So basically our plan is that we somehow play Snuffling Potion every turn, because if we do, they will never draw more cards, and then they will be left with only the tools that they have in their hand. And the logic is that eventually we can wear down whatever was in their hand, any kind of counterplay they had there, and then basically they will be completely locked because they don't have access to more cards. So you may ask then, okay, how do we recycle the Snuffling Potion? Well, we are playing 4 copies of Hannah Abbott, and she can get 2 cards from our discard pile back by discarding 2 cards from our hand, as mentioned in the other deck. And there is basically a loop that you can do with this deck. There's a card called Impersonating Goyle. So it requires 5 power, and it allows you to choose a character in play and discard it, and then you can get a character from your deck into your hand. So you may think that this is supposed to be used on your opponent's cards, but in this deck you mainly actually use it on your own Hannah Abbott, because characters are unique, so you can't play another copy of the same character until you get rid of them. So you, if you play Impersonating Goyle on your own Hannah, you can you can discard the Hannah you have in play, and you can use the Impersonating Goyle to search your deck for another Hannah. Then you can play that Hannah and use her effect to get back both Snuffling Potion and Impersonating Goyle, which means that you will be able to repeat this next turn. Now you may note that this costs 3 actions to do, so it will take up your entire turn if you have 3 actions per turn, which you will normally have with Seamus Finnegan. But there will be turns where you simply draw into the Snuffling Potion, and that means you're going to have an action left over to also develop your own board by playing things. So there is a way for you to close the game out. And another way that you can do that is by playing Moaning Myrtle's Bathroom, which gives a player an extra action for their turn if they have at least 2 characters in play before their turn starts. So it's a location and affects both players, but normally because your opponent can't draw cards, you're sort of not that concerned about your opponent getting extra actions. And this allows you to easily do the loop with Hannah, but also play the cards that you need. So in order to finish your opponent off, in this deck we are using, just like in the other deck, we are using creatures, Mandrake. I will mention that as I've said before on the channel, my experience with the game has been largely isolated from any public discussions about the game. And there was a thing that I had missed because of this, which is a combination between Snuffling Potion and a card called the Burrow that I thought I would show. So the Burrow is a location that says that before each player's turn, if that player has fewer than 4 cards in his or her hand, that player draws cards until he or she has 4. So in the case where you can play Snuffling Potion and your opponent has less than 4 cards, that means that they will discard their entire deck, because they will keep drawing cards and they will never reach 4 cards. So they will just keep discarding cards to their discard pile with this combination. However, I haven't really tried this combo, so that's something for the future that I could show this, maybe a deck that features this combo, but I'm not sure that it's really needed or that it would be better. Instead, we're playing a quite simple solution in just playing creatures. Again, creatures do basically infinite damage as well when you have your opponent in a lock, and the Burrow would require our opponent to have less than 4 cards in their hand to work, and we may not always be able to get them below 4 cards. So using creatures is quite a simple solution. So I still like this, but there is some potential with the Burrow that could be explored in coming streams. Other than that, we are playing Bundyman Ooze, which forces our opponent to get rid of a creature or item they have in play and discard it, and then they take damage equal to the discarded card's power cost. So this is just because we need a way to get rid of creatures if they have creatures on the board. Because if we return the creatures to their hand with a card like Quirrell, they can always just play them again, because we have no way to permanently get rid of creatures with our character cards, so we need some spell card to do it. So Bundyman Ooze is there for that. And we of course are playing Draco Malfoy because he can discard cards from our opponent's hand. So once we are limiting or preventing them from drawing more cards, we can play Draco Malfoy to discard the cards that they actually do have that are important. So maybe they would have a card like Deboning that prevents us from playing our Snuffling Potion, well, before they get to play it, we could play Draco and discard it, and then they would be completely out of options. We have Filch, of course, to protect against adventures, and then some common choices like Quirrell just to buy some time in the early game, Sprout to provide power and be a character. Just McGonagall is always good at one copy at least to get rid of an adventure. We have, of course, Snape, who provides us the potion's power, but can also heal us to make sure that we don't run out of cards while we're doing this infinite looping. And Madame Pomfrey as well, same thing. She can heal us, except she doesn't provide a power. Marcus Flint gets rid of 3 cards in our opponent's hand once per game. They choose the cards discarded, but this can be useful when they're at a low card count and we play Snuffling Potion. We can get rid of the last few options that they have. And this can also be very useful, especially against non-character decks early, to limit their amount of counterplay options. And again, Dean Thomas for some extra draw. Yeah, I believe that's the entire deck. So again, this is also establishing a lock, but using Snuffling Potion instead. And now we're going to see which one is better, I suppose, because these decks are going to go head to head, and we also want to show some other matchups between these decks. So before we start, I'm going to take just a very short break, and then we'll get right into the gameplay. If you have any questions, suggestions, or requests about matchups for the stream, then leave them in the chat, and I'll be back very soon. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are back, and in this I'm going to start by playing the Letters from Prison deck, and my opponent will be playing the Snuffling Potion deck. So let's see if this client is a little bit better. And we're gonna roll to see who starts. And looks like he will. So we draw our 7. This is the best thing you can get on your starting hand is of course Ginny and Seamus, but we got the Fat Lady, which can at least search those cards out. Now it might be a little bit too slow because he gets to start. So let's see what he does. So of course he has the same goals. He's trying to get Ginny and Seamus out as quickly as possible to get the draw to be able to sustain your lock, and also to draw the cards that give you the power to start using it. Okay, so apparently he drew a very bad hand. So his first action was to draw, and his second action was to play Snape. So not ideal at all. He's not able to establish the Ginny. So I'm gonna try to go for our Ginny. So I'm gonna play the Fat Lady first action, and then use second action to search for our Ginny. Let's see if we can find her somewhere. Oh, I think there she was. Okay, so we get the Ginny to our hand. Unfortunately, we cannot play her this turn, so we just pass. Next turn, we can use Fat Lady to get Seamus. Second action, place Seamus. Then use Seamus' ability to get a third action and play Ginny. So at that point, we'll have our engine set up, and the next goal will be to get to our lock state. Okay, so his first action was to draw, and second action was to play the Fat Lady. So he's basically one turn behind us. Or is that actually, that's 2 turns, because he has to search for Ginny first and then play her. Yeah, it's not great for him. So we use the Fat Lady to find Seamus. Where is he? There. And then we're going to play him and use his ability. So we can get rid of Filch because we know that he's not playing any adventures. And then what else? I guess a lesson. The other cards will potentially be useful. We need Letters from No One to establish our lock, and escaping the Dursleys to... Well, Letters from No One is our lock, and escaping the Dursleys helps us get him to the low card total that we need to lock with Letters from No One. So let's discard a lesson, and let's have it be a Charms lesson. It doesn't matter much because he doesn't have a means of discarding our lessons. So if we get to play all of these... Oh, whoops. Forgot to put the Ginny on the board. That's important. Yeah. All right, so now he's using Fat Lady. And also he commented that he should have drawn cards instead of playing Snape. It's completely true, because if he was drawing for cards, he would have been able to draw with Ginny this turn already. He wouldn't have had Snape on the board, but he would be drawing the extra cards from Ginny already. So yeah, with character decks, you're really just trying to get there as quickly as possible. It's usually a waste of time to try to do other things. All right, so now we can draw 4 cards in total, 3 from Ginny, and then our mandatory draw. And this is really good because we drew 2 characters that give us power. And this means that we can get closer to the 4 power that we need, while we are also putting more characters on the board that lets us draw more cards with Ginny. So let's use Seamus to get an extra action. And then let's see. We can get rid of Care of Magical Creatures and a Charms, because yeah, we're going to have those kinds of power anyway. We're just missing Transfiguration power now. So this turn we're going to play Flitwick and Pomona and a lesson, another just any lesson. And hopefully we'll draw into Transfiguration, but it's not strictly necessary for us to win the game, I suppose. We can establish a lock without it. It's really nice to have access to Dobby's Disappearance. Because he doesn't have Filch or McGonagall on the board, it should be easy for us to establish a lock here. Because he has no way of preventing escaping the Dursleys. Yeah, so he used the Fat Lady to get Seamus. He could also have used the Fat Lady to get McGonagall, but then again, that's all he's doing that turn. So it's a bit of a slow play, and I guess he just has to hope that we don't have a way to disrupt him here. All right, so yeah, he searched out Seamus, he played him, used his ability, and third action was playing a potions. So now we get to draw 6 cards with in total. Okay, this is pretty great. So yeah, we are able to... We can play a lesson and also play Escaping the Dursleys here. I'm trying to think if we should use Dobby's Disappearance or not to get rid of Ginny. He could still... I don't think it actually matters. Because he could still get Ginny with the reward of escaping the Dursleys. Or with the Fat Lady, for that matter. Okay, it may be a mistake, but... So I'm gonna play this, shake Seamus to show we're using him. And we don't need more power for the moment, so I'm gonna get rid of the Care of Magical Creatures. And then play Escaping the Dursleys, I believe. So that's all of our actions. So we are close to a lock. We can put Ginny back into his hand next turn and play Letters from No One and play a Gardegnome as well, because Dobby's Disappearance gives us 1 action back. And he will be able to solve the Letters from No One, but I think because we're drawing so many cards, we can just keep returning Ginny and keep putting more stuff on the board until he's not able to solve it anymore. So it seems like he's considering what to do. So he's gonna have to solve Escaping the Dursleys, but he should use Seamus before solving it, so he at least gets an extra action. If the cards are gonna be discarded anyway, you might as well. All right, so he's solving it. It's... Oh, wait. I'm going to point out that he should be using Seamus first. Because it's just a free action. Would be a shame if he did not get it. Yeah. Helping him a little bit. Gotta be nice. We're playing a friendly game here. So he's gonna have 3 actions. He can get any card he wants from his deck. He discards a bunch of cards. Now the question is what he gets here. Maybe McGonagall? Because he would then force us to get rid of her somehow. Yeah, that's what he's choosing to do. Okay. Yeah, and if he plays this, he still has 2 more actions. So he's going to be at 2 cards. Yeah, it's a bit of a bother. Maybe we don't play the letters from no one right away. It could be we just return Ginny to his hand and put Garden Gnomes in play to prepare for a turn where we play letters from no one. Oh, this is also interesting. So he's using the Fat Lady to search his deck for Dean Thomas, and then he's going to play Dean Thomas and use his effect to draw 3 cards. So this actually gets him, instead of the 2 cards that I was saying, he gets 3 cards. So it's a good play. Yeah, he's going to use it right away. And then he has to end his turn there. Okay, so now we draw 6 cards. Again. Ooh, that's a lot of Garden Gnomes. So that's kind of perfect. Because I wanted to put as many Garden Gnomes as possible on the table. So we could just play Doubles Disappearance here, get Ginny back into his hand, and then use Seamus and play 3 Garden Gnomes. And then it's going to be easy to establish a lock from there, I think. So let's try that. We play the Dobbies. Actually, maybe not this way. I'm trying to think. Could just use Hover Charm instead. I'm thinking we might want to save the Dobbies Disappearance so that we're able to get rid of both McGonagall and Ginny in the same turn that we are playing Letters from No One. Yeah, I'm gonna try that. I guess that also makes us a little bit less vulnerable to Quirrell if we have fewer Garden Gnomes on the board. So what do we discard except the Escaping the Dursleys? We have 4 Garden Gnomes. I guess we don't really need more. So I guess I get rid of another Garden Gnome. These 2. And then we just put 2 Garden Gnomes on the board. Another nice thing here is we have Marcus Flint, so next turn after we draw, we can return something to... We can return some cards to his hand and then force him to discard 3. If we draw another Dobbies Disappearance, we can even return both Ginny and McGonagall to his hand. Then play Marcus Flint, and then use Seamus to get an extra action and play Letters from No One. And then we use Marcus Flint so that it's not able to solve it right away. And here he might actually not want to use Seamus anymore because cards are actually very precious right now for him. And Hannah Abbott. I'm not sure. if he should be playing these, because it just gets him closer to being locked out. I think maybe he should just be drawing. Well, let's see. So now we draw 6 cards. 6 cards. And we did get another Dobby's Disappearance. So we can just play those 2 to put Ginny and McGonagall into his hand. Then we can play Marcus to discard those. And we still can play Letters from No One after. So let's do that. And this should finalize the lock. So this should put us in a position where he can't get out of this situation anymore. And as you can see, this deck kind of like gradually wears our opponent down, but it's very hard to stop it from happening once we start disrupting, once we play the Escaping the Dursleys. The game is almost over at that point. It's very hard to get out of that situation. So all he can really do now is draw, because that's all Letters from No One allows him to do. And so he's drawing. We can draw 6 cards as well. Oh, sorry, actually it's 7 now, because we have 1 more character on the board now. And yeah, we can put the the 3rd Garden Gnome on the table, and that's gonna seal the deal. So we just shake Seamus, discard Ginny and another Ginny, play Garden Gnome, Transfiguration, Mandrake. And so basically, at this point, he can't do anything to get out of this. And the Mandrake should deal enough. Wait, oh, I forgot the Mandrake. The Mandrake, it should outpace. Basically, even if he heals with Snape, the Mandrake makes it so he loses 4 cards each turn. 1 because he's drawing a card, and 3 from the Mandrake, while we are only drawing 1 card each turn. So the game is basically over. I will allow him to resign. All right. So he's gonna resign. And that showcases the lock that this deck established. Is quite scary. As soon as you get to 4 power and you're able to return cards, you can secure your Escaping the Dursleys, and then it's basically impossible to get out of that scenario. So you gotta make sure that you do something before that happens. And I think we're gonna switch decks now. Or we could do. Oh no, we do a swap. So now you'll get to see the matchup from the other side. Obviously, his draw wasn't great. He also did a mistake there early by playing the Snape when he didn't really need to. All right, we need to roll the die to see who starts. Nice. Okay. Well, it's not so nice actually. So we lost the die. Oh wait, this is the wrong deck. I have to tell him. I'm supposed to be playing the other deck. That's my bad. I thought I had picked the other one. that's kind of lucky because our starting hand was terrible. Yeah, so now I'm passing to him to show that it's his turn because he gets to start. So question in the chat was, doesn't he need to be a bit aggressive for a chance of counterplay? Can you specify how he's supposed to be aggressive? I think the problem is he's not able to affect us in any way until he gets to 4 power. The only other way he can affect us is by playing Draco and try to discard cards, but that's kind of pushing against the tide because we're drawing so many cards each turn. He can't just be discarding them all. And yeah, unless he gets to 4 power, he can't play the Snuffling Potion to stop us from drawing. So it's more like a race, which can make these matchups look very one-sided. But yeah, it's more like a race between the players. Okay, so here we have... we won't be able to play Ginny this turn, but we can put the Fat Lady into play and Seamus, and then use Seamus to be able to search out Ginny. So we can get rid of, I guess... I mean, we don't really need the Mandrake right now. we're pretty far from establishing a lock. And then we just use Fat Lady as our last action. So yeah, I got a response that I said he might not want to play the lesson card. The logic there was basically that if he by going lower on cards in his hand, he makes it even less likely that he'll be able to solve Letters from No One next turn. So instead, I think he should keep the cards in his hand and draw more cards. Because that increases the likelihood that he'll be able to solve Letters from No One and then also be able to play something after he solves it. Whereas if he plays all the cards and then I play Letters from No One, he's put in a position where all he can do is draw for cards, and he doesn't have the chance to get to 5 cards where he can solve it. Okay, so now he searches out Seamus and plays Seamus as his second action, and now he's discarding 2 to get an extra action with Seamus. He's just discarded 1 card so far. Okay, and Adob's disappearance. Okay. Ooh, okay, and he has Jenny out now, which is his third action. So he has the engine rolling 1 turn before us, so he has a bit of a lead. Okay, so we definitely will play Ginny this turn, and we definitely will be playing Pomona, and I think we also want to be using Seamus to get an extra action. If we can get to 4 power before him, that is really impactful. If we someone might be tempted to play Pomfrey here to get an extra card from Ginny, but we're already drawing 5 each turn. And the thing is, if we play a lesson here, we're actually, if we draw the right cards, we could play the first Snuffling Potion as early as next turn. So I'm going to play a lesson here instead and threaten that play. And a great thing, of course, about Snuffling Potion is that it means Ginny is useless. If he would draw the extra cards with Ginny, they would be discarded instead. Right, so he's drawing the cards. Unfortunately, yeah, this game is not looking too bad. If we just draw the right cards here, we could already have a lock. We just need to draw a Snuffling Potion and another card that provides power, and then I think we have a really good chance. Because escaping the Dursleys, of course, doesn't do anything here because we don't have any cards in our hand. And Letters from No One doesn't really do anything either because we draw 5 cards each turn, so it's very easy to solve. And so really, he's not threatening to do much until he gets to 4 power, where he can get rid of Ginny from the board. That's when he can really start starving us on cards. But yeah, if we just get the right cards here, we can start starving him first. Okay, so he uses an action to get Fred and George Weasley, which will let him play or put adventure cards into play for just 1 action. All right, he's playing Marcus Flint, which can make us discard 3 cards, but we only have 1 card in hand right now, so it's not really relevant at the moment. Okay, so now he passes to us, and we can draw 5 with Ginny. I think this lesson play is not correct because I think I would just play the character, the Fred and George, to draw more cards, because he's not threatening to get to 4 power next turn anyway. All right, so this is not bad, but we didn't get the Snuffling Potion, which we were hoping, but it's okay. So we'll just play the power cards. Play the McGonagall. Use Finnegan. So we can play our lessons here and get to 5 power. And having the McGonagall is also really nice because it stops his first adventure unless he gets to 4 power. Now the problem is, of course, we might be a little bit late in stopping him here. Because if he gets to 4 and is able to bounce the McGonagall and play Escaping the Dursleys, then he can stop us from playing the next Snuffling Potion and stop our luck. So he can disrupt our luck, and that means that his luck will probably take precedence. But it's still unclear, because he can't start bouncing things this turn. We have ways to discard his Ginny with Impersonating Goyle. Okay. This just... I'm wondering about this. So he plays the Escaping the Dursleys. It's an interesting play. So basically he's saying, like, if we draw with Ginny this turn, we're gonna have to discard them anyway. We could get... Oh, he's taking it back. Okay, never mind. So I guess he changed his mind about that play. All right, so that's gonna leave us with a lot of options. Okay, then we don't have to think about that. So we get to draw 6 cards now. And we got another Impersonating Goyle. So a thing we can do now is we can use Impersonating Goyle to get rid of his Ginny. And we can use its effect to search for Argus Filch, which seems pretty good. Thing is, if we play Argus Filch here, we have both Argus Filch and McGonagall here that are able to get rid of his adventure, which is Escaping the Dursleys. And because of that, he would need 2 cards that return... Yeah, that return our characters to our hand to stop us. And actually, I guess I shouldn't really... Oh yeah, I should be worried about a play like that on his next turn. Because what he can do is play... he can play 2 cards that give power, and then because he has Fred and George, he still has enough actions to put Escaping the Dursleys into play as his 3rd action. And he could use Dobby's Disappearance to, you know, bounce the character cards that he wants to get rid of. But he would need 2 copies to get rid of both McGonagall and Filch. And he already discarded one. So I think it's highly unlikely. And if we play the Snuffling Potion, then I don't think he's going to be able to do that play. So I'm going to play Impersonating Goyle to get rid of his Ginny. Actually, sorry. It's not going to be Ginny. I just realized it shouldn't be Ginny. I'm going to target... I think I target Hannah Abbott here, because if he has 1 copy of Dobby's Disappearance, he could get it back. Oh, he already has one in his discard pile, of course. So yeah, we get rid of Hannah, and this card allows us to get a character from our deck. Now I just have to find him. Oh, there he is. So we get Filch. And as our second action, we can play Filch. And as our third action, to get the third action, we need to use Seamus. So I discard Ginny and the Fat Lady. And third action, I play the Snuffling Potion to prevent him from drawing more cards. So it should be incredibly unlikely that he's able to make this play next turn. Actually, maybe impossible. Let me think about it. So he needs to play 3 cards. Yeah, actually, there's not enough room in his hand to do it. So what I was worried about it's not really a real concern. Yeah, so now I think we may have him in a lock state that he can't get out of, but he's gonna think a lot about it, of course. If he has some way to disrupt us here. It could be that he can play just 2 power and pass, and then he's threatening to maybe play Hover Charm and Dobby's Disappearance to get McGonagall and Filch back into our hand, and then he can play the Escaping the Dursleys safely with Fred and George Weasley. But we do have Impersonating Goyle to get rid of 1 more character. I guess he still hasn't used Marcus Flint, so that's something he could do to get rid of the cards that we have right now. But we will definitely draw 7 more when our turn starts, so it's really hard for him to limit our options here. And it's highly likely we're either going to draw another Snuffling Potion or a Hannah Abbott that can get the Snuffling Potion back. So I think this is simply going to be a lock. Okay, so now he's making his play. So it seems like that's what he's going to do. Just play 2 power and pass. Maybe not. Well, let's see. I guess... Oh, okay. Because another possibility is maybe using Seamus here. Okay, so we have to discard the 3 cards that we had, because he's using Marcus Flint. He could, if he has he could use Seamus here and play something like Hover Charm to put Ginny back in our hand and stop our draw, and that would also stop Snuffling Potion. So that could actually be a really good play. But I don't know if he has that. That's the big question. It doesn't. I assume that he doesn't, because it would have been a really nice play. Okay, so we get to draw 7 cards because he wasn't able to put Ginny back in our hand. And we already drew another Snuffling Potion, so that's amazing. Okay. Yeah, so this looks like we can clean this up now. So now he's going to have to discard 3 because we played the Marcus Flint, and then we can play Hannah Abbott, and we can use Seamus Finnegan to get the last action that allows us to play the Snuffling Potion. So he's not able to draw this turn either. And then we pass. So actually, what did he discard? He discarded Escaping the Dursley's Letters from No One and Hannah Abbott, I think. Yeah. Oh right, he can use the Fat Lady to get cards into his hand. But of course, yeah, he gets Dean Thomas, but of course Dean Thomas cannot draw him any cards because, well, they would just be sent to the discard pile because of Snuffling Potion. So he's just going to use the Fat Lady again. Okay, and he gets a McGonagall. It's really all he could do that turn. All right, so now we get to draw 9 cards. Actually, we could use Impersonating Goyle and get rid of Marcus Flint to make room for another Marcus Flint. Yeah, and then we could discard the last cards in his hand just to completely seal this. But I don't... It feels like that's not really necessary. I'm just going to use Hannah Abbott to get the Snuffling Potions back. And we already have Impersonating Goyle too. Let's see. Yeah, I hope I'm not missing some line here, but I don't think so. So I get these Snuffling Potions back. And then we can play this Moaning Myrtle's Bathroom to get extra actions on our turn. Play the Snuffling Potion, and think we can play the Mandrake to start dealing damage to him. I'm going to write that if he wants to, he can concede. Because as you can see, a lock has now been established. Just like in the previous game. Yeah. So he's going to concede. So I would just be able to loop this to recycle the Snuffling Potions, and he would never be able to contest it, and the Mandrakes would just keep dealing damage to him. So so the game was basically over. All right, cool. So you've seen how these prison decks function. Clearly they are very scary. It seems like as soon as they reach 4 power, they finish the game, which is quite crazy. Of course, there is a little bit of work to completely seal the lock, and there is some things that you need to watch out for to make sure that you nail it. But now let's see how they do against some other decks. I remember there was a comment on a video about the Run's Help deck that I showed previously on the channel by a user that I think was called Geldwin, that he wanted to see the Run's Help deck up against an Adventure Prison deck. I don't know if he was talking about this Adventure deck, but if you're watching Geldwin, then I'm going to at least play it against my Adventure Prison deck. So I'm going to take a short break, and then that's what we're going to do next. So be right back. All right, welcome back, everybody. Now we have the matchup between the Letters from Prison deck and the Ron's Help deck that was seen previously on the channel. Now, of course, because Caught by Snape is banned in my format, my adventure deck does not feature that. And that's probably what most people who play the classic format would be used to. But yeah, it will be interesting to see how well the deck will function without it. It's as you've seen so far, it's clearly still possible to make a good prison adventure deck without it. All right, I have to roll to see who starts. He rolled 20, so okay, he's gonna start, that's for sure. Oh yeah, I have to pass to him just to show that it's his turn. All right, that's not a good hand. We just pray that we draw Ginny. Otherwise, this might be a very one-sided game. That's a bit of an advantage that the Ron deck has. It has access to chocolate frogs, so it has even more cards that can get you Ginny and Seamus. Although normally you shouldn't need them, because having Fat Lady just means you have 8 copies basically of both Seamus and Ginny in your deck. But it looks like he didn't get what he needed either, so maybe it will be a more even game. So we drew another Garden Gnome. That's not useful. Now you may be tempted to play Escaping the Dursleys here to make him discard his hand. But the thing is, the reward gives him the ability to search his deck for any card. So then we're letting him search his deck for Ginny, which is exactly what we don't want him to do right now. So we're saving this for later. So we're going to use an action to draw a card instead. Oh, thank God. This is actually really good. So now we can, second action, we can play Seamus and use him. This will allow us to play Ginny. I guess Mandrake we don't need until we have the lock established, so we can put it away for now. Usually once we get the lock established, we have plenty of time to find the cards we need. Now the Garden Gnome is useful to establish the lock, so maybe we want to keep that. I'm not sure. We need to discard one more. I want to keep Escaping the Dursleys because that's also really important for establishing the lock. Double Disappearance as well. Probably we should get rid of a Lesson because they are the most replaceable cards. And then we play Ginny. So a lot of these character matchups become silly because it's mainly a race of who gets the engine rolling first, but there is some nuance there. As you saw in the last game, he got the engine rolling first, but he still wasn't able to win the game, because we got to 4 power before he did. So I guess he wasn't drawing enough power then. All right, so he plays Seamus and uses him. Maybe he top deck Ginny as well. I'm not sure. Yeah, and then there's that's why I have the 2 categories, like character decks and normal decks. Character decks versus normal decks. I mean, the decks that don't play Ron Weasley and this whole engine with Seamus and Ginny. A lot of them, they have to contend with character decks somehow. So a lot of them, they have to put tools in their deck to disrupt Ginny in some way, because if the character deck player gets the draw, it's really hard to win. And from the character deck's perspective, you have a few things to think about, like, do you how much should you focus on beating normal decks, and how much should you focus on beating character decks? Against normal decks, a card like Through the Arc would be really good, but yeah, in general, or sorry, against character decks, it would not be good at all. So because it's easy to get rid of it with Argus Filch. So the thing that I think keeps the game a bit interesting is just the fact that you have to account for a lot of matchups. Okay, so we drew a Letters from No One. Still don't want to play Escaping the Dursleys, of course. Yeah, now we're being punished for discarding the lesson. Because normally here, I guess we would just play 2 lessons and pass or something. But now we really only have 1 card that we want to be playing. We don't want to play the Letters from No One yet. All right, so let's just use an action to draw a card. Play a Care of Magical Creatures. I mean, okay, I'm actually not sure if I should even do that. Let's use Seamus. We get rid of Garden Gnome and Escaping the Dursleys. That means we can spend 1 more action to draw for cards. Because if we could get something better than the lesson that we would rather play. Okay, so we could play the Madame Pomfrey just to get more draw. I think this is a bug that the Escaping the Dursleys is still there. I'm gonna see if he sees it. Okay. Yeah, it's a bug. Okay. Yeah, so he doesn't see it. Fuck it. Yeah, it does just ignore it. So this card is not actually there. Yeah, so everybody watching, ignore this card. Oh, okay, so he finally drew Ginny. All right. And he's leading in terms of power, just like I was last game. But we can still get to 4 before him if we draw the right cards now. So we get to draw 4 now. It's not perfect, but we can play 2 power cards, which means we could still get to 4 next turn. So let's do that, and then the last action can just be to play Draco. So we can use Seamus, discard our Ginny, and we need to get rid of something else. I guess End of Year Feast. The other cards are just more relevant right now. Then we pass. Yeah, so next turn, if we get 2 more power, we can, and we also need a Transfiguration symbol, then we can return Ginny to his hand. Oh, I forgot. I'm not playing against the Snuffling Potion deck, so this is a problem, because he can get to... If he gets to 3 power, he can start playing Muffling Draughts, which prevents us from using the Dobby's Disappearances. So actually, maybe I should have been playing Escaping the Dursleys. Yeah. Oh, okay. I guess he didn't draw it then. So we still have the opportunity to do this. So I think we're favored. Okay, so we can we draw 5 cards from Ginny. Or 4 from Ginny and 1 mandatory. Okay, it's not perfect. Or is it? So we could play... No, but we still don't... So we could play Hannah to get our last lesson, but we still wouldn't be able to play Dobby's Disappearance. We don't even have the transfiguration symbol. That's a bit of a problem. That's a bit frustrating. So we could play Escaping the Dursleys. And if we do, he could solve it next turn and search out the Muffling Draught, which would guarantee that he's able to play it next turn. But I still feel that that maybe is better than letting him play Muffling Draught. I'm not... Actually, yeah, this is complicated. So I could play the Escaping the Dursleys. He searches out the Muffling Draught. He stops us from playing spells next turn. Or we don't do it now. Then he might draw the Muffling Draught. He could draw the Muffling Draught, play it. And then we could still play Escaping the Dursleys the turn after that. I think we're fine with that. I think that's better. Yeah. Okay, so let's just play the lesson. Play Hannah Abbott. Get an extra action. I guess we get rid of Quirrell because he's not playing creatures. And Dobby's Disappearance, because we already have two, even though it's such a good card. And we also have Hannah to get it back, so I guess we're not worried about it. Because this means that we're going to draw more cards from Ginny next turn. Could have also been using Draco to discard cards, but I think if he had Muffling Draught, he should have already played it. Wait, I'm wondering if I can put this on top. Yeah, now this Escaping the Dursleys won't be bothering us anymore. Okay, so he gets to draw the 6 from Ginny. And this is still kind of exciting. But yeah, it is a bit of a problem here that Escaping the Dursleys is not enough to seal the deal. Muffling Draught can really mess with us here. He's thinking here, so maybe it's not as clear. He's using it, Hannah. So, okay. I'm just gonna assume then that he doesn't have the Muffling Draught. It seems like he's just trying to go for the throat right away, because he's playing Hannah and using her right away. So, he's discarding Peeves and One Chop, and he's getting back a Charms and Venomous Tentacular Juice. So he's trying to... Okay, and he plays the Charms as his last action. But we're totally fine with this. So we draw 7 cards. Okay, so I think now we should, you know, be in a good position. So we're definitely gonna gain an extra action with Seamus. We know this much. So we can get rid of the Seamus, the extra copies of Seamus that we have. We know that we won't use them. So we play our Transfiguration Power. So we have 2 actions. We have 2 Dobby's Disappearance, and we also have Hannah Abbott, which would allow us to get more of them back if we need to. So essentially we can get rid of any characters we want to here. And there's quite a bit that we might want to get rid of. Like Grip Hook, I guess Grip Hook, it doesn't seal the deal, but it's kind of annoying that he can discard our hand because we have so many useful cards in it right now. So I kind of want to get rid of him too. Okay, so we play the Dobby's Disappearance, put Ginny back. Play the other one. And I guess get Snape back. Then we use Hannah. So we got a mark that we used her. So we get rid of our charms and Filch, I think. And then we get back 2 Dobby's Disappearance. Seems pretty good. Then we play a Dobby's Disappearance, use it on Grip Hook. And I think we can save the last Dobby's Disappearance. We don't really care about Seamus or Quirrell. So we just play the Escaping the Dursleys. And yeah, there should be no way that he can kill us next turn now. I mean, there wasn't before, but yeah. Now this looks pretty sealed. But I will say, like, he got really unlucky there. Like, not getting any Muffling Draughts so far is quite unlikely, considering there's 4 copies in the deck, and it would have completely stopped us from doing this play. I mean, we could still have played the Escaping the Dursleys, but then when he solves it, he can get a Muffling Draught for the reward and then play it. So he keeps Ginny on the board because we're not able to play spells to disrupt Ginny. Oh. I think he wants to use Seamus as well before discarding his hand. All right, so he has 3 actions. We're gonna just assume that he used Seamus. Right, so he searches out Ginny, which I mean, it's the normal play. It shouldn't be enough though. So now we draw. Yeah, so his last 2 action, he just draws cards. So now we can draw 7 cards. Yeah, 7 cards with Ginny. And yeah, so now we should be able to establish a lock because we can play Dobby's Disappearance to get Ginny back into his hand. And if we use Seamus, then we have three actions. So we discard Fat Lady and Draco. Then we can play Marcus Flint as our first action and use him. And that means that he will be at 0 cards in his hand. So he has to discard. And yeah, actually, I was going to play both the Garden Gnomes. But he could bounce them with Quirrell. So I think I will play Maybe play Hover Charm on the Quirrell? I'm not sure. Yeah, I could do that. So we put the Quirrell back into his hand, and then I'm going to use Draco Malfoy to discard him. And so we're not in a super rush to play the Letters from No One, because he's not really threatening to do anything right now. So we get rid of the Quirrell first. So we draw the 8 cards. Oh, did he misclip? No, I think it's fine. I think it's my turn. Oh, yeah, so Bruno Rego is asking, why aren't characters unique? Yeah, sorry. So the context for my stream is that I'm playing with some house rules. So character uniqueness only applies to your own board. So we can both have a copy of Seamus in play. Of course, that's not the official rules. It's just I think the original unique rule is pretty stupid. So I'm playing with some slight modification there. All right. Yeah. So now we just need to seal the deal here. So we're going to use Draco as our first action to look at his hand and discard, I guess, the most significant card. And we discard McGonagall, because McGonagall can get rid of Letters from No One. And then we just play our 2 Garden Gnomes. So next turn we can probably start playing Letters from No One, and combine with Draco. That should mean that we put him in a full lock, which will seal the game. He's using Seamus here, but I think that's a mistake. I'm not sure quite what happened there. Oh, so of course he's discarding because of Garden Gnome. So yeah, we draw a card for the turn. Oh, sorry, we could be drawing more, but I guess at this point we don't want to. So it's okay. All right, yeah. So now to establish the lock, we just play Letters from No One. We use Seamus. Discard Seamus, the fat lady. We have one more action then, so we can use Draco. Oh, let's just pretend that I also played Fred and George, so I only pay 1 action for the Letters from No One. And here, I guess, I don't know. I don't think it matters. Let's get rid of the chocolate frogs. And we pass to him. So now all he can do is draw cards. And then if he solves the Letters from No One, he has to discard the 2 cards that he gets as a reward. So then we could just play another one. So, okay, he's going to solve it. Gets rid of the cards, but he shouldn't draw because those will just be discarded. Yeah, so he just passes instead. And I think I'm just going to... Yeah, we don't need to draw with Ginny. Yeah, so I think now we just have to demonstrate the lock. So I play the Halloween Feast, and this can get back the Garden Gnome and the Mandrake. Oh, actually, let me play it here where you guys can see it over here. And we get a Mandrake, and those are all the creatures we can get. So we discard the Halloween Feast. And we get the Mandrake and the Garden Gnome. And let's see. Yeah, we use Seamus to get an extra action. And we play another Letters from No One. So I'm gonna write it's okay if he concedes. Because as you can see, he needs to discard 2 now, and then we can play a Garden Gnome, and since he only has 1 card, he can't get out of Letters from No One anymore, and the Mandrakes will kill him. So it's GG. All right. Well, I think this matchup still should have more play than we saw here in normally. He just got pretty unlucky. So, but it revolves a lot around who gets to play their spells first. If he got a Muffling Draught off before I got my Dobby's Disappearance off, then game would look pretty different. All right, so let's switch to another matchup. I actually wanted to try this adventure deck as against the McGonagall. So let me check here. And I'm gonna keep playing on this side, and we'll see how good the... Actually, no, let's switch side. All right. The escaping from the Dursleys is still there somehow. Okay, so we have to roll to see who starts. All right. Yeah, so this matchup just revolves a lot around just disrupting Ginny. I wanted to show this matchup because I think maybe it shows that even though this kind of prison deck is powerful, it's not like there's nothing that can beat it. This McGonagall deck, it can disrupt Ginny, first of all, to stop the draw from being good. We have seen that in previous streams, but also because McGonagall lets you get rid of an adventure once per game, it's also much harder to establish the adventure lock. So I think it could be interesting. Okay, so we draw for our turn. Yeah, so we want to disrupt his Ginny. So we play the Dobby's Disappearance to get it back. And then we still have 1 action left over. And I figure we might as well draw an extra card for that. Not sure why he's shaking McGonagall. Yeah, so we're drawing an extra card because we can't get to we can't get to 8 next turn anyway. So we will need to see more cards before we can get to Defendo range. All right, somehow he missed Davis' disappearance, so we have to redo that. And I guess he has to put back the cards and shuffle. I'm gonna put the comment about uniqueness in the chat as well, so it's visible, even for people who arrive later. Okay, so it looks like he's passed to us. He just put the Ginny and the Draco into play. Okay, so we drew a lesson, which means we can get to 6 power now. I guess we could play... We could play 2 lessons in the hopes of drawing a Scribbly Force as a top deck on our next turn. That's still valid, I guess. Let me move this here so this escaping the Dursleys that's not actually there doesn't block our screen. Yeah, but this is it's a bit scary because looks like we're gonna need at least 1 more turn before we can keep disrupting Ginny. So maybe things will get out of hand here, but it's definitely far from over. You need quite a bit of cards to get this kind of character deck rolling. All right, so he's got Seamus out now as well. And all right, second action, playing the Fat Lady. Supposedly just because it gets him extra draw, but he can also use it to get Fred and George or... Oh, no, I guess he's not playing the Fat Lady. Okay, he's playing the Escaping the Dursleys instead. So we draw for the turn. Then we can make a decision here. So we have, let's see. We have 6 power right now. We can play the lessons that we have in our hand. Yeah, I'm not sure here. I could play 1 lesson, then solve Escaping the Dursleys and get a Scribbly Force, and then play that Scribbly Force on Ginny and Seamus to stop further draw. But maybe I should just play 2 lessons and use McGonagall to get rid of Escaping the Dursleys. Maybe play Defendo on Ginny. That seems better. Yeah, these lines are not super clear, but I think I'm gonna go with this one. So I'm gonna get rid of Escaping the Dursleys with McGonagall and then get rid of Ginny. Because, yeah, still... and if he uses Draco to get rid of cards here, then we can just solve escaping the Dursleys instead. This also opens up the possibility to save McGonagall and just solve escaping the Dursleys and get Defendo, which I kind of like too. I think it depends on what we draw on the next turn. Okay, he's going to use Draco. I'm not sure I like this, but let's see. So we reveal our cards and he gets to choose one to discard. Gets rid of Defendo, of course, makes sense. I guess we know that he has the Fat Lady in his hand. So he has a way to... He has a way to get Ginny into play again. So we might have to get rid of Ginny several times. So he's going to use Draco again and get rid of another card. But I'm... Actually, it's... Yeah, I don't think he should be doing this, because... now we will definitely solve escaping the Dursleys, and we get to keep McGonagall's effect. There's no big downside to solving escaping the Dursleys now. But okay, he gets rid of the other Defendo. Because this is not actually preventing us from playing Defendo. We can still solve escaping the Dursleys to get access to Defendo. All right, so we draw for the turn. So picking on Neville, yeah, I guess we'll just solve escaping the Dursleys. And then we can search our deck for Defendo, which I think is quite nice. Or we could also get Scribbly Force. Not sure which is better here. Yeah. I think for sure we want to disrupt Ginny. So if we play this Scribbly Force, basically it sets him back one more action. Yeah, he has to use one action to get a Ginny back with Fat Lady. So I think, yeah, I guess I like the idea of Scribbly Force here. And then we can use the other first action to draw. Capybara is kind of nice. We play the Scribbly Force and we target Ginny and Seamus. Oh, I'm still revealing my hand to him. All right, you didn't see nothing. He decides to discard Ginny and keep Seamus. I guess maybe he already has a Ginny in hand then. Yeah, this is quite... I'm not sure where this is going to go. I guess he could Draco me here to get rid of the Capybara. It costs him 3 cards, so it's quite expensive. But of course he has to draw from Ginny, as long as I don't get a card to stop him from drawing with Ginny on my next turn. We do have a lot of cards that can do that. And we still have not used McGonagall's effect. but he's not using Draco. Okay, so we just draw for the turn. All right, so our first action is going to be Capybara, because that gets us another card. And that was not what we were looking for. All right, we have one more action, so we just draw another card. At least we will start to deal damage now. But yeah, we really needed a card to disrupt Ginny. I mean, it's far from over, and we're gonna get another chance to do it next turn. So it's fine, I think. So he uses Fat Lady to search out Fred and George. And Seamus for the third action. So he's getting set up, but he still doesn't have power to... Okay, so he's playing Letters from No One. But at this point, we're sort of fine with that. So we just draw for the turn. And yeah, maybe what he's hinting at is that if I don't solve Letters from No One this turn, he can use Draco to discard some cards from our hand. But that's fine. He's not able to play Garden Gnome. Yeah, actually, we could just use McGonagall here. I think that's the best thing. Clearly. Get rid of Letters from No One, then we can kill Ginny with Defendo. Yeah, it makes a lot of sense. We use McGonagall. Get a card from the Porcupine, and then we can play Defendo to get rid of Ginny. So we're disrupting the draw here. And this should make things a little awkward for him. And we're dealing 5 each turn. Now we have used McGonagall, so I'm going to mark that. So we are vulnerable to adventures now, but because he doesn't have the power yet to play Garden Gnomes, to bounce our cards, I think we're still fine here. Because he can't establish a lock right now. And he also needs to get rid of our creatures to stop taking damage. Oh, okay. So this is interesting. So he's playing Madame Pomfrey as his first action because all of his Ginnies are in his discard pile. So he's going to shuffle them back so that he can get them back with the Fat Lady. Now, I'm not sure this is correct. He's getting both all of the Letters from No One's back as well. And all the Garden Gnomes. Because he has Hannah Abbott that allows him to get cards back from his discard pile. So there is a reason to leave some stuff in there that you might want for later. But okay, he's getting all the Garden Gnomes, all the Ginnies, and yeah, the Letters from No One's, and some Dobby's Disappearance, I think. Yeah, there was at least one Dobby's Disappearance there. So now he can use an action to get to use Fat Lady, get Ginny, and play her. And also he's healing himself. So despite all of the drawing he's been doing, we're actually at the same amount of cards. So now we draw for the turn, and we're going to damage him with our creatures. But we draw a Scribbly Force, which I am very pleased with, because it means we can once again disrupt his draw, and we need to keep doing this. So I'm going to use an action to draw an extra card, and then we just play the Scribbly Force to disrupt his place here. So we shake Ginny, and we shake... what else? I guess Seamus. Do we shake Seamus? Sure. And then we're gonna pass back to him. Yeah, this still looking okay. Oh yeah, he shuffled back Quirrell as well. So he has the possibility, if he gets both Escaping the Dursleys and Quirrell, he can put all our creatures back into our hand and then play Escaping the Dursleys to make us discard them. But because he's not able to draw, we keep disrupting Ginny. That means he's unlikely to get his Quirrell. There's only one copy in the deck. And he's not at 4 power still, so yeah, this is still a game. It's gonna be it's a big battle. It's a grindy one, as these McGonagall games tend to be. So now he's using Fat Lady to get Seamus. And yeah, he has a long way to go, but this is by no means over. You really have to be careful against these decks because yeah, as soon as he gets to 4, we might just be in a lock and he might be able to get rid of our creatures. And then it doesn't matter that we have a lead in damage because his Mandrake will be dealing infinite damage essentially. Yeah, he's using Seamus. Discarding Dobby's Disappearance and something else. Okay, he's playing Letters from No One. I think I missed what his first action was. Oh yeah, he used the Fat Lady. Okay. This is confusing me. So he didn't get Ginny back with the Fat Lady. That's kind of surprising to me. It seems wrong. It seems like he needs Ginny. So we have 5 cards that we can pitch to solve Letters from No One, and I think that's what we want to do because we don't really care about these cards. I guess we could draw a card first. Oh, he needs to take damage from the creatures. Oh, never mind. I think he did. Yeah, because then we could potentially keep Lost Notes, but I'm not sure it's so important. Yeah, I'm not sure here. I think maybe I don't need to solve it this turn. I could just draw extra cards. That it makes us vulnerable to Draco, but it's not like he has infinite cards because he doesn't have Ginny. So I'm sort of fine with that. He has Quirrell in his discard pile, which he could get back with Hannah. But that's okay. So we just draw a card. We get Picking on Neville. That's a card that we don't really want to be playing anyway. So we just don't do anything, I guess. We draw another card. We pass to him. So yeah, because he really needs to have Ginny on the board. There's no other way. Because he can't sustain using Draco and Seamus if there is no Ginny. He just doesn't have enough cards. So I'm not sure what the plan was there. He can... yeah, I think he should just get Ginny out. But he can still do it. He's choosing to use Draco first, so he can still use Seamus and get Ginny with the fat lady. So now he can discard a card from my hand. But this picking on Neville is not something I want to use really, because he could just discard Madame Pomfrey and something else, and that would allow him to heal himself once again. So oh, so he simply played a Ginny. He didn't use the fat lady. Okay. So we draw a card for the turn. And we deal damage with our creatures. So yeah, now we can solve. I'm glad we waited, because now we can discard 5 lessons, and we don't need any of those lessons. So in order to solve this, we can discard 5 lessons. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And our reward is that we get 2 cards if we want to, which we do. And so we don't really want to play either of those. So I'm going to draw a card first, and then play the Scribbly Force and target Ginny and Seamus. Yeah, so we're able to keep him under wraps for now. So he discards the Ginny, gets the Seamus back. Of course, he can use the fat lady to get Ginny from his deck, I think, unless we discarded them all again. Yeah, there's still 2 Ginnies left in his deck. Man, this is a grindy game. Yeah, to the people watching, let me know if there's any matchups you'd like to see after this game. What I'm planning is that the Snuffling Potion Prison is going to play against the Hooch deck with, and the Hooch deck is going to be teched against character decks just to see what that looks like. But if there's anything else, then I could try that as well. So, okay, he's using Fat Lady to get Ginny, which is sort of expected. So we're going to draw for the turn. Our creature is going to deal damage. Yep, and yeah, this we're still able to disrupting because we got a Dobby's disappearance, so that's really good. So first action, we just draw a card. Oh yeah, we can. If we play the porcupine, we won't be able to play the Dobby's disappearance, so we need to do it in this order. We put the Ginny back into his hand, and then we play the porcupine, which gives us a card, and then we can pass to him. So I'm feeling more and more confident that we're going to seal this game. He needs to stem the tide of damage here. So a Quirrell is needed. He could use Hannah to get both Quirrell and Ginny back. That seems like it would be a good idea. Might slow us down enough to still buy him time to finish this, but at this point I'm worried for him that even if he manages to get Ginny to stay, that he doesn't have enough cards in his deck to survive long enough for us to die from the lock, even if he establishes it. Yeah, but this cannot work, I don't think. But let's see. Yeah, so all we really want to do here, we have a bunch of cards that let us get rid of lessons, but of course he doesn't have lessons in play. So let's just draw and see. Oh, that's pretty lucky, but yeah, we just want a card that disrupts Ginny, and that should it should seal the deal, I think. Yeah, okay, he's just passing. He's essentially conceding. I don't know if he saw that play with Hannah. Maybe he just forgot about it. So, good game. I think so I think he made some mistakes that game, but still, to some degree, this shows that this is a matchup where there is a little bit of play, there is a little bit of back and forth, and it's not a super obvious matchup, at least to me yet, who has the upper hand. It's something to try a bit more of. I think I'm gonna check with I'm gonna check with him if he can play some more games, because I wanted to show the Hooch matchup against the Snuffling Prison, and maybe more stuff after that. All right, so we're gonna play that one last matchup. So it's gonna be it's gonna be the Hooch deck against the Snuffling Potion Prison after the break, and the Hooch deck is gonna be changed to be teched against character decks. So let's see how that's gonna look like. So see you soon after a quick break. And we are back. This will be the last game of today. Again, this escaping the Dursleys is a bug. It's not really there. Now we're playing the Hooch deck, which has been teched with Vanishing Referee to make it better against character decks. That might mean that it completely slaughters my deck. So, you know, well, we'll see. I got a really good starting hand here. We're not going to start because of our die roll. The reason I think this is a really interesting experiment is that it might show a need for character decks to be really worried about normal decks and maybe play cards like Through the Arc just to make it harder to be disrupted by spell cards. But again, as I mentioned earlier in the stream, then that means you are more vulnerable to other character decks because those Through the Arc will not really be useful against them. They simply need to get an Argus Filch on the board and then they can easily remove it. So there's that dynamic in the meta. Okay, so he just searched out his broom and played 2 lessons, and this is a good start from him. He already has all of the different kinds of power he needs, and probably he has what he needs to disrupt us. But we're gonna make an ambitious play here and just hope that he doesn't. So I think that's the best way to go about it. The main way we can be punished for doing that is if he has Picking on Neville. But I think since there's only 4 copies of Picking on Neville, it's not that likely that he will have that particular card. There are other cards that disrupt us in Vanishing Referee and Dobby's Disappearance, but those will not discard Ginny. One of them will shuffle her back, and the other will return her to our hand. Regardless, okay, I guess it doesn't really matter. If Ginny is discarded, it's kind of the same as if he plays Vanishing Referee. We simply need to use the Fat Lady to search out a new Ginny. So yeah, this version of McGonagall should be really good against our deck. So he's playing the Picking on Neville, targeting Ginny. So we're going to get rid of Ginny instead of discarding to our Seamus and Fat Lady. Yeah, so because it has 12 copies that can disrupt Ginny, that's maybe more than the deck can comfortably deal with. Okay, so we're going to we want to use the Fat Lady to get another Ginny. So we get Ginny into our hand, and we also play Ginny. And I think what I want to do here is I'm going to use Seamus to search out another card with the Fat Lady. Oh, who's that in chat? Are you watching on stream? I'm not sure who this is. I'm gonna send him the link. Yeah, welcome to that guy. Nice to meet you. Okay, let me find a card with the Fat Lady. So I'm using the Fat Lady. Find card. To get Dean Thomas, because I can then and then I'll pass to him. Oh, hey, 50 Sorrow. Wait, are you the guy who wrote to me in game? Yeah, if you want to send me the details about the tournament, go ahead. Or you can plug it in chat as well. I haven't looked into Revival yet. I only saw a stream of it. So I'm not sure I will be participating in that stuff yet, but maybe it's something I can check out. Okay, so my opponent here he's playing the Shooting Star and fouled. At first he bounced Ginny, so I'm gonna take 4 damage from fouled. Oh shit, that's the wrong button. Okay, you're not the guy from chat. Yeah, so he bounced my Ginny. We're losing an action this turn because of fouled. Okay, I'm gonna click this Discord button for later. Yeah, so we have one less action this turn. I think what we'll do is we'll start by playing Dean Thomas and use him, because that'll make us less vulnerable to picking on Neville. And then we'll use Seamus to discard 2 cards. Argus Filch, I guess, is not useful here. He doesn't have adventures. Madame Pomfrey we can keep. We'll play Ginny again. So now if he plays picking on Neville, we can discard Fat Lady and Dean Thomas. Although, I mean, he may still be able to disrupt Ginny, but, you know, we need to keep trying to get the draw from Ginny, because without it, we're not winning this game. Okay, so he's gonna shuffle the Ginny back to our main deck, and yeah, with the Vanishing Referee, that is the tech card he's playing. So we draw our card for the turn. we just drew the Ginny. That's good. I think at this point we just play Ginny and Pomfrey and hope that he can't disrupt Ginny. And we don't... Well, maybe I should have used Seamus. I feel like these cards are precious. Discarding the Snuffling Potion kind of hurts. Yeah, so because he has a Shooting Star, he's able to discard all his lessons and draw 2 cards, which makes it easy for him to reach the next card that will disrupt Ginny. Yeah, that's hard for us to deal with. Although, so far, he's not put a creature on the board. This... Okay, now he's put a creature on the board. Yeah, so we take 2 damage from the Black Bat. It's a creature that it deals 2 damage to us immediately when it's played. And then we draw our card for the turn. Yeah, so what I was saying is because he didn't have a creature yet, all this time that he's bought has not been dealing that much damage to us, fortunately. Now we're just going to play Ginny and a Care of Magical Creatures and just hope he runs out of the disruption stuff. He may never. So that's a problem. Yeah. So this may show that, you know, the danger of actually that normal decks can present against character decks. Of course, if you play Vanishing Referee with a normal deck and then you're facing another so-called normal deck, then the Vanishing Referee will be a dead draw. So there is a trade-off. There is a cost to doing this. Okay, so he's doing it again. Playing the Vanishing Referee. Yeah, this is actually the first time me playing against this, because I haven't tried it before. So I'm gonna search out. Well, we need to search out Ginny, of course, and then we play the Ginny. Put it into play with our second action. And then we just pray that he can't repeat this. Oh, we need to draw to discard. Take 2 damage from the black bat. And yeah, so he's using Shooting Star again. All right, so finally we will actually get to draw cards from Ginny, but he's playing Fouled, so we're gonna take 4 damage from that, and we're gonna have 1 less action on our next turn. But this is we're getting. If we had 1 more power, we might actually be able to establish the lock now. So okay, now we can draw 6 cards. So this is wonderful. Right, so we want to play power, of course. I guess we just try to play all the power we can in the hopes that we will be able to play some cards next turn that are just not not lessons and characters. So we use, I believe we use Seamus. So we get rid of Ginny. And what else? I guess impersonating Goyle is not useful yet. Yeah, so our last 2 actions, we can play lessons, and then we pass back to him, and we're going to take the 2 from the black bat. So the fact that this is... Oh, whoops, sorry. He pointed out we actually just have 2 actions because he played Fouled, so I was cheating there. Oh no, actually, wait. Yes, yeah, we took the damage from Black Bat already. So now he's playing Prickly Porcupine. Yeah, maybe. Oh, okay. So he's just swarming us with creatures, but this, I mean, this is good because even though, I mean, we have Madame Pomfrey, still, we have used our Dean Thomas, but we can draw 6 cards here. And we are able to play Snuffling Potion now. So that will stop him from drawing more cards to disrupt us. And all right, so let's use Seamus. I think we just get rid of potions and a Ginny. So we want to play the bathroom so that we can start getting extra actions. We want to play a Snuffling Potion as well. Yeah, so it's going to be Snuffling Potion. And we place... Oh, sorry, wrong order. We play Snape, then the Snuffling Potion. I guess, okay, so I guess we can't play the bathroom this turn. But we need to play the Snuffling Potion anyway. And then we just play... We just play potions, I guess. Yeah, I think we just... so we play potions. And then we want to be able to draw with Ginny next turn, I think. So, oh, this is slightly problematic, but yeah, we need to start playing the Bandemonuzes too to get rid of his creatures and items. But okay, let's use Snape to heal ourselves. And we can get 2 Snuffling Potions back. What else is useful? So this Snape's heals us 7 cards. Guess at this point Mandrake starts to get relevant. We can shuffle back 1 Bundimon Ooze, and that will still let us take 2 of them back with Hannah. And what else? Not sure. I guess impersonating Goyle is good. 5. Are there any more Hannahs in the... Yeah, we get 1 Hannah back. So that's 6 cards. And then we get another impersonating Goyle. Yeah, so those will be the cards. So we send them to main deck top, and then we shuffle. All right. So we're still able to heal us 12 with Pomfrey, but we have, oh shit, we have quite a way to go. And also, yeah, we're supposed to take damage from all these creatures. So we're gonna take 2 from the Black Bat. And also we take damage. Yeah, I don't know. Maybe we should have just started playing the Bundimon Oozes immediately. Garden Gnome. That's not as significant. Okay. So now we gotta think about this. So if we draw 7, puts us at 6 cards. We can shuffle back and have 18. We still have to draw, I'm pretty sure. I'm wondering if we have more Snapes left in the deck. There's still 1 Snape, which means we could still heal ourselves more, potentially. Okay, so I'm gonna draw 7. There is supposed to be a Quirrell in the deck. Was that discarded and I just didn't shuffle it back? No, we just didn't draw it. That's kind of unlucky. So how do we do this now? I think so. Okay, we drew a Bundimon Ooze, so we're able to get rid of 2 things. We could play Hannah to let us get back more stuff, but that still doesn't that still doesn't allow us to get rid of more than 2 things this turn. And Bundimon Ooze, he's the one who chooses what to discard, so he can get rid of the Shooting Star and the Garden Gnome that are not dealing damage, but we still need to start playing them to eventually get rid of his creatures. So we have to play the Bundimon Oozes. Well, okay, there is another thing I could do. Yeah, I should probably do it this way. I could play Impersonating Goyle and discard one of my characters and then get Quirrell from my deck, and then I could put his creatures back. Yeah, the Black Bats, they still deal 2 damage when he plays them, but I think that's okay. We're just mainly concerned about... Yeah, let's do it this way. So Impersonating Goyle. So that's going to discard Dean Thomas. And we can find Quirrell from our deck. Then we play Quirrell. We use him. So that's going to return the wand and all the creatures to his hand. And yeah, I could. So the question is, do I still play Snuffling Potion here? I don't think I need to. We're not that worried about him drawing next turn, I guess. We're gonna have to use Pomfrey, otherwise we lose if he plays the black bats, because we only have 5 cards. So okay, I guess we could play the Hannah Ammott for preemptive purposes. Oh no, actually, of course we play the bathroom then, because that's going to give us an extra action. And then, yeah, we have to use Pomfrey. So we put the counter at 0. And then we have to find 12 cards. So I guess the mandrakes are still a thing that we want. And the Snuffling Potions too. What else could be useful? Theoretically, the Hannah Abbotts and the impersonating Goyles. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And I guess the rest should just be lessons. 7, 8. 9. She's technically a lesson. 9, 10, 11, 12. Or I guess technically not a lesson, but she works just like one. So we send those to the main deck, and then we shuffle, and then we can pass back to him. Yeah, we're happy with that play. Maybe we still have time to solve this, because now with the bathroom we'll have at least 3 actions every turn, even without using Seamus. And if we use Seamus, we have 4 actions on our turn. So this is quite nice. Yeah. I think this is an interesting spot, because he can play the creatures, but I think we can get enough Bonding on Oozes to get rid of all the creatures he's playing. And then we can also play Snuffling Potions to prevent more things from being drawn. Okay, so he's playing the 2 black bats, kind of as expected. And that means we take 4 damage right away. So we put 4 in our discard pile. So next turn, so now we're gonna, I think we don't draw with Ginny now. We just make a normal draw. We play Bonding on Ooze. So this means he has to discard, choose a creature or item in play and discard it. And then he takes as much damage as it has in power requirement. And then we play the other one. So that should get rid of both the bats, and then he should take 4 more damage. And then we play Snuffling Potion, I guess, to stop him from drawing more cards. All right, so it's our turn. So we draw for the turn. So he played a Shooting Star and a Cunning Fox. So now we can play a Hannah. can use Hannah to get the Bunnyman Oozes back. So he's going to take 9 damage from that. And yeah, I can't believe we're clawing our way back in this game. So we could use Seamus here to have one more action, and I think that's what we want to do. Yeah, I don't think we want to. I don't think actually we need to play Snuffling Potion now. Sort of have him in a bind where if he plays more creatures, which he needs to win the game, we can play Impersonating Goyle, get another Hannah from our deck, and then get Bundyman Oozes to deal more damage to him. So I'm going to discard 2 cards. It's going to be a Marcus Flint, I guess, because I think he has lessons that he doesn't care if we get rid of them. So we get rid of the Marcus Flint, and we get rid of, I guess, a lesson. And we play a Mandrake. And this should deal the final damage that we need. This was interesting because we didn't actually need to. We sort of like we half established a prison. We didn't really need to establish a prison. We just needed to get the value from Bundyman Ooze. Okay, interesting. Yeah, so yeah, he just played a lesson. So yeah, and he took the damage. So I can play this Impersonating Goyle, get rid of Hannah Abbott from play, and then we can search our deck for. I guess I'm a little bit worried that he's gonna have a card like Fouled. Would that kill us? 1, 2. Actually, he's played 3 Fouled, so that's not possible. So okay, so we can find, I guess maybe no, we cannot. I don't think we want any of these characters. Maybe we get one just to have more cards. Sure, let's just get one to have more cards in hand. So our second action is going to be playing Hannah Abbott. Then we have to use her. So we get rid of Seamus and I guess Snuffling Potion and just get the Bundyman Oozes back. And then third action, we can play a Bundyman Ooze. I feel like we've done it because the only direct damage he has is Black Bat and Fouled, so he can deal at most 6 more damage next turn. And if he does that, we can play the Bundyman Ooze to get rid of the Black Bat, deal 4, and the Mandrake deals the final 3. So wow, yeah, that was crazy how we were able to slow down the game with Quirrell and then finally close it out with these Bundyman Oozes. And the fact that we're gaining an action each turn from the bathroom is huge. Because at this point, when we have so few cards left in the deck, discarding 2 cards with Seamus every turn is actually quite expensive. we kind of got to a point where we can't as safely draw with Genie every turn. All right, he's conceding. Wow, so we pulled it off. Yeah, that's the final game of the stream. Let me get back to this. So yeah, that was that was quite a cool game. Didn't fully expect to pull it off, but then once I saw the Quirrell play, I realized actually we can put him in a position where he can only play 2 cards each turn, and we can always get rid of both of them with the Bunny Manuses. So actually, we had him in sort of a prison there. Maybe he could have gotten out of it by getting rid of lessons or something. But then again, we have the card advantage, so we can replace those lessons. Quite a cool game. Yeah, I just want to say before I head out that thank you for watching. If you have any comments, questions, or suggestions, then you can put those in the comment section, of course. I will try to answer everything I can. And next week, I will be back with another stream on Tuesday, just half an hour later than the stream was today. And I will, as usual, be presenting 2 new decks. And the plan is to do a weekly stream for some time. So I hope I will see you there. And bye-bye.